Thank you. Thanks very much. Yeah, it's good. Great. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for being patient and listening to me today. My name's Matt Eaton. I work for a company called GrayMeta. GrayMeta is not a DAM system. I want to hasten to point out. What we do is we harness cognitive services, machine learning. We bring the best of breed of all these different machine learning services, and we create practical solutions for our content owner clients. And I wanted to tell you today about a fantastic project I project managed myself recently, which was the royal wedding. And what a great cue before this presentation to get the panel talking about some of those key issues, and I think a lot of those issues are seen in this project. I particularly liked Thomas's description of how you should go about an AI project. First doing a POC, and then doing a minimal viable product, and then going on to a pilot. So Sky News gave us a challenge to miss out those parts and just go straight to a pilot, and in a very public space as well. The royal wedding was expected to be the most watched event on TV in 2018. It was Meghan Markle. She's a Hollywood actress. It's going to be huge, and the Brits love royal weddings. That was before England versus Tunisia, which eclipsed it, but there you go. There we go. Okay, this is what we did. So mind the Juddery video. It was much smoother when you look at it on the website, and you can still go to the website. Actually, it's on skynews.com. Who's who. This was the live capture. We had a dedicated camera, or one of the cameras in the pool that we used at the entrance of the chapel coming in. And as people arrived, we used facial recognition to say who they are, and you could click on them and see a bio. And this is how it happened live. You could watch this on your mobile app, on your iOS or Android, and on the website as well. And then we had a post-event user experience asset as well, which was a highlights reel from the wedding, where we again used facial recognition based on a custom model of expected guests to identify people as they arrived. And with this one, you could click on watch arrivals, and it will go back to when they turned up. So this is a great example of how AI has helped deepen the customer experience and deepen the whole storytelling experience for Sky News. And it was a real first. It was a world first in terms of live facial recognition for an event like this. But I think there's a lot of learning that came out of doing such an event. Not only did we deliver on the day, but we learned a lot in the 2.5 months that we had to design, build, and deliver this solution. And those lessons can be used more generally in an asset management and an archive setting as well, especially around building custom models and deploying to a cloud. And I think having the cloud-based architecture that we used helped us create a very agile solution that could be used for many different things in future events as well. So some of the challenges around the royal wedding is that you may not know this, but the guest list isn't published in advance, which makes facial recognition particularly difficult because you don't know who's going to turn up. So we work with Sky News journalists, people that scoured social media, watched Twitter avidly and read lots of magazines to work out who might be turning up. And we identified about 850 anticipated guests that may turn up. So about 50% of those were celebrities, people from Suits, George Clooney, those kinds of people, where there are lots of trained facial recognition sets already. But many of the guests were extended royal family or foreign dignitaries, and we had to source and curate a list of images to train a custom model for these people, because they just weren't available otherwise. So some of that work up front that was mentioned earlier and has been mentioned in other topics involved Sky News looking at their archive, looking at Getty, looking at other sources as well, to try to find really good resolution images that we could use to train the AI service. Those images had to be full face, not obscured by hair or glasses or hats, and so were quite difficult to find. But that took about 2 months of work. We had about 10 to 15 images per person, 850 people, so you can make it work out the maths. There's a lot of images that had to be looked at. Then there were the names, the display names that were shown on the app. They had to be sort of cut down to a suitable length, and the synopsis as well, which were written by the Sky News journalists. So just about the solution overall. So we partnered with AWS to deliver a cloud solution, an end-to-end cloud solution, which included their elemental encoders at the outside broadcast truck. We took a live feed from the chapel that was encoded at Windsor, and it went straight up into the public cloud, into our own environment. That was then chunked up into segments, and those segments were sent to GrayMeta, our own platform. We used AWS Recognition to run a automated face matching process. So any faces that it detected went straight up and were compared against the custom model that we'd created. Sky News, obviously for this kind of event, we can't afford to be 70% correct or 60% correct or whatever the automated metadata matching might be. So it had to be 100% correct. They couldn't have mistakes going out. So we built a human curation tool that reviewed the metadata coming back from the facial recognition, and they had the ability to override it if it was wrong, and just to ignore it altogether if it was very wrong. So on the day we had about 70% correct matches. So these human curators on the day only had to correct 30%. But we knew that was going to be the case going into that, and that's why we designed the solution to handle that kind of 100% level of tolerance. So once we'd gone through the human curation, we packaged up the metadata with the time code and sent it via CloudFront to the Sky News video player, and partners UI-centric designed the look and feel of the app at the end. Between live contribution at the at Windsor Chapel and people seeing it on their mobile phones was 2 minutes. So we had to do all of this process in 2 minutes to make sure that the metadata was kept up to speed with the video. So these live curation screens had a timer, a countdown timer. They only had about 40 seconds or so to review some keyframes. Is this the right person? Is this Pippa Middleton? This is what the AI says, and then they make any corrections during that point. But thankfully, the AI did most of the heavy lifting on the day and made it possible to provide that user experience. So there are many challenges with using AI and cognitive services today, not least accuracy. This was one of the early tests that we were looking at. The similarity between chihuahuas and blueberry muffins is uncanny, and I think one of the learnings and pieces of advice that we can give is to be very realistic about the capabilities of cognitive services today and where they are. They're improving all the time, even during the course of the project. The facial recognition matching algorithms improved enormously, but we had to design a solution that delivered 100% accuracy, and that's why we put the human curation screen in there as well. But again, that's something I would recommend is be conscious of the limitations, but also embrace what's possible and know that things are getting better and able to improve. Some of the other challenges that we met. So one of the things that you may find when you're training a custom model is false positives. We had the King of Cambodia who often appeared in our test material because you're mismatched to a different face. The reason for this was because he had quite a pixelated image within his training set, which skewed the whole model. He had several very high quality images, but one low image that was pixelated. And so the rest of the model was skewed just because of that low res image. So we had to make sure that the training model was optimized for recognition, and we didn't have too many false positives on the day. Next was we had to deal with identical twins, which is difficult enough for people to recognise the difference. So the Spencer twins here, looking quite different here, but they are identical twins. So again, we had to have that human curation just to make sure that we got them right on the day. Thankfully, the AI did tag them correctly, but we weren't sure. This was a risk that we had to design around as well. And lastly, facial recognition doesn't work very well if you go and change your face. Mike Tyndall, 2 weeks before the wedding, fixed his nose, and he had his nose. He looks much better there. So we had to go out and get a whole new set of training images for him with his lovely straight nose. And that's there were some of the challenges. We learned many more that I'm happy to share with you when we got more time. But in summary, we delivered a user experience that would not have been possible just using human logging, just using manual logging. There's no way that people could have kept, I think there were 600 guests on the day, 600 faces and names in their heads and do the manual logging. It needed artificial intelligence to make this possible. And it was a very exciting project to work on. Thanks very much.